back to order. If everyone please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Laws of 1975, this meeting has been duly advertised in the Asbury Park Press issue of May 5th, 2010. All municipal clerks of the townships and boroughs within the regional high school district have been duly notified, and the requirements of posting of notices have been met. Minutes approval. Could I have a mover and a seconder on the minutes, please?
Move. I'll second.
Comments, corrections on minutes?
Date of the minute?
6/20.
All three. Yeah, all three. June 14th and 21st, and June 28th. Seeing none, Mr. Boyce.
Mr. Bruno.
Yes to the 14th and 21st. I'll abstain from the 28th. I wasn't present.
Mr. Kayaz.
Yes, 14th and 21st, abstain. I wasn't present, 28th.
Mrs. Canario.
Yes on all.
Mr. Hochberg.
Yes on all.
Mrs. Lavin.
Yes on the 14th and 21st, abstain on the 28th.
Mr. Lawson.
Yes. Communications received are on file with the Board Secretary's office. Reports. Superintendent's report. Dr. Taylor.
Okay. Good evening. One of the first reports I'd like to give that went on this month of July is that we've had a leadership retreat. It was the first retreat that has taken place, I believe, in quite a number of years in the district. The principals met with central office and we went over the staffing. We consolidated down classes. We looked at the best way to utilize our staff, which as you'll see on the agenda. There are transfers that are going on because of the staffing issues. We've also worked on goals that will be put into place in the school district once I review them with the board, and probably next month. And we just handled a lot of issues that went on in curriculum. So it was a very good retreat. It lasted 2 days, and I think, we'll offer more in the future. Another report I'd like to give is that in Pine Street this month, on July 1st, we had 2 births that were on the same day. James Quirk had a little girl on July 1st. How do you say her name? Kiva. And a middle name?
Michelle.
Kiva Michelle. And also Don Marchese, our Director of Technology, had a little girl, Danielle Rose, both on the same day. So it's kind of big news.
Congratulations.
Also, at this time, I'd like to turn over and have Sean Boyce give an update on the budget. That you'll see at every meeting, just before I turn it to you, every meeting during the superintendent's report that we're going to address the budget issues so that we're not set up in a place like we were this year, scrambling at the last minute of trying to be very retroactive. I mean, this year we're going to be proactive because we understand what may be coming down the road. Dawn?
Thank you, Dr. Kegler. As the board knows, and as Dr. Kegler just mentioned, we're going to begin our discussion of the 2011-2012 budget. It's a year off from now. We're going to begin that now. The last time we met was June 28th, and at that meeting we finalized our budget for the 11-12 year. Certainly a very difficult budget. The governor needed to take some action to get the state budget aligned, and we certainly saw our share of the pain by losing a significant amount of revenue. We made the decisions in the best way that we could given the time frame that we had, and as Dr. Kegler said, one of the 3 primary resources that all organizations have, time, money, and data. But we can't afford to waste any of them, and time being one of the most important. So we're going to begin that conversation right now. I will tell you that under a series of assumptions, looking out over the horizon at the 2011-2012 budget, we have a significant structural deficit, a multi-million-dollar significant structural deficit. And we are at work at both the staff and administrative levels, as well as the committee level, to start taking a look at some of the things that we have in motion, and I'm going to talk about them, but first let me just address some of the finalized cuts that were made for 2010-2011. Many of these were discussed at the initial public hearing of the budget in terms of staffing. As you recall, over 150 positions were lost in the district, as well as money in a variety of other areas, better than $10 million of cuts of what we had planned to do and what we typically do for our community. One of the areas that we needed to be as thoughtful and take some additional time was the area of athletics and extracurricular activities. As I wrote to the board recently, and through discussions with the leadership team, here are the specifics of the cuts in those areas. 5 honorary positions at each school to be determined by building leadership. Honorary, as you know, is money to run certain clubs and other extracurricular areas. So that will be on a building-by-building basis. Winter track eliminated. And I will tell you, I've had the opportunity to speak to some winter track parents over the last week, and I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but let me just continue down the list. JV cheerleading, moratorium on all cloth for 10-11, all uniforms unless it's a hygienic situation, such as bathing suits, that type of thing. Bands and cheerleaders to attend only home football games. The elimination of stipends for our weight room attendance, which limits the availability of our weight rooms for our student athletes. Elimination of 1 football coaching position per school. 1 wrestling coaching position at Howe, which had 1 additional coach, so that brings them even. Elimination of all intra-district athletic events. We have certain tournaments, basketball tournaments, track meets, that type of thing, where it's just the district schools that participate. Those have been eliminated. Elimination of participation for bands for non-district events, things like various parades and spectacular and some other things of that nature. Tournaments. The district will only fund Monmouth County, Shore Conference, and NJSIAA tournaments. However, varsity level will be permitted to go to 1 additional tournament to be determined by the coach and the SECA, the principal, at the building level. One exception to that is the Boys and Girls Spring Track program. They will have those 3, Shore, Monmouth County, and NJSIAA. They will also have 2 varsity level tournaments and 1 novice tournament. It's just the way their season lays out that they don't have as much opportunity to compete as some of the other sports do, so we made an exception there as well. One of the things that I think becomes part of this conversation is what role does paid to participate play in this district, in this coming year and in the future. There was a group that I pulled together, principals, the SECAs, and for those of you who don't know, that stands for Supervisor of Extracurricular Activities. It's basically our athletic directors, but they also handle the clubs, the extracurricular clubs, so that's what a SECA is. So SECA, principal, and 2 members of their community to help think through reductions in this area of sports and extracurricular activities. What are the different ways to approach it, and how do we want to do that?